Okay guys, I literally just cannot even with these new General Hospital spoilers that just dropped. My brain is like completely frying right now and I need to talk about this because what is happening in Port Charles? I'm sitting here drinking my iced coffee and just shaking my head. You all need to buckle up because we are diving deep into this mess with Brooke Lynn. So picture this. You're just walking, minding your own business. Maybe you had a rough night. Maybe you're just trying to get home to your own bed. And suddenly, bam, flashing red and blue lights pulling up on you out of nowhere. No warning, no nothing. Unprovoked. That's exactly what the spoilers are teasing for our girl Brooke Lynn. She's literally just on her way home and gets busted by the cops. And she has no earthly idea what the heck is going on. Like, she's standing there, probably looking a hot mess, freezing her off, and suddenly she's being treated like a hardened criminal? I mean, make it make sense. But wait, it gets so much worse. Because WHO is the cop slapping the cuffs on her. Who is the one reading her Miranda rights on the cold concrete? Chase, her husband. Bro, I am screaming. Harrison Chase, the love of her life, is the one forced to arrest her. Can you imagine the absolute psychological warfare going on in that man's head? The spoilers say he's basically forced to do it, like he can't go against orders from his higher-ups. Which, let's pause for a second for a little reality check, educational moment, because I have thoughts on police procedure in the real world. And I know PCPD is basically a clown car half the time. But in reality, an officer arresting their own spouse is a massive conflict of interest. It's called recusal. Law enforcement agencies have strict ethical protocols about this stuff because, duh, you can't be objective when it's your own wife in handcuffs. It taints the chain of custody. It ruins the credibility of the arrest. If this went to a real court, a halfway decent defense attorney would have a field day with this. Your Honor, the arresting officer shares a bank account with the suspect. Like, it's wild! But obviously Chase is a cop's cop. He follows orders. But you know he's dying inside. He wants to know just as badly as Brooke Lynn does what the heck she supposedly did to make the brass order a hit on her, basically. He's probably thinking, did she steal something? Did she punch someone at the party? So they get to the station. The precinct is cold. It smells like stale coffee and bad decisions. Brooke Lynn gets shoved into the interrogation room. And who comes in to play bad cop? Dante. Dante Falconeri, acting in his capacity as commissioner or whatever power trip he's on right now. And Dante sits down, probably gives her that, look, you know the one. And he starts laying out the timeline. Dante tells her she was at this party. She was drinking, drinking heavily, and then she left the party alone in a completely hella inebriated state. He's accusing her of getting behind the wheel of a car while absolutely smashed, and then the bombshell. Dante suspects Brooke Lynn caused a horrific traffic accident and then just fled the scene. A hit and run. Well, maybe not a hit, but she caused a crash and bailed. Brooke Lynn is sitting there, and you can just imagine her face. She's like, Dante, you're tripping. I wouldn't do that. She's in total disbelief, but then she tries to remember. She tries to reach back into her memory to prove him wrong, to say, no, I took a cab, or no, I walked. But there's nothing there. She has a completely blank space in her brain. So she can't explain how she got from the party to the spot where Chase arrested her. And this, guys, this is where the story gets incredibly dark and actually really terrifying on a human level. Let's talk about the science of blacking out for a second, because I think people use that term too loosely. When you drink too much alcohol, it doesn't just make you sleepy. A rapid spike in blood alcohol concentration literally impairs your hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of your brain responsible for consolidating short-term memories into long-term memories. So when you get blackout drunk, your brain basically stops hitting the record button. It's called anterograde amnesia. You're still awake, you're talking, you might even be walking or driving, which is terrifying, but your brain is physically incapable of storing the memory of it. So Brooklyn isn't just lying. She legitimately does not know. She is experiencing on-block blackouts, meaning hours of her life are just gone, deleted. She doesn't remember leaving. She doesn't remember if she was swerving all over the road. And the worst part, she doesn't remember if her reckless driving caused Jordan to violently swerve and crash. Because that's the tragedy here. Jordan got into an accident. Jordan had to yank the steering wheel to avoid a drunk driver. And Dante thinks that driver was Brooklyn. And Brooklyn is sitting in that interrogation room, her heart pounding out of her chest, wondering, am I a monster? Did I do this? She doesn't remember if she saw another car. She doesn't remember the screeching tires or the sound of metal crunching, or if she looked in her rearview mirror and saw someone fighting for their life and decided to just keep driving. Which brings us to another legal education moment. You don't actually have to physically touch another car to be guilty of a hit and run or vehicular assault. It's called a phantom vehicle crash or a miss and run. If your negligence, like swerving into the wrong lane because you're hella drunk, forces another driver off the road and they hit a tree, you cause that crash. Legally, in almost every state in the US, you have a duty to stop. If your actions contributed to an accident and you leave the scene, that is a felony, especially if there are injuries. So the stakes here are astronomically high. Brooklyn is facing actual prison time and the psychological torture of not knowing. I can't even imagine. Waking up, hungover, your head splitting open, your husband won't look you in the eye because he had to arrest you, and a detective is telling you that you almost killed someone, and you can't defend yourself because you simply don't know if it's true. You have no alibi. You have no memory. Your own brain has betrayed you. I just keep thinking about how she must feel. She's probably second guessing everything. Like, well, my keys were in my purse. Did I drive? Or, wait, I have a bruise on my knee. Did I hit it on the steering wheel? Every little detail becomes this huge ominous clue. And Chase, poor Chase, he's a cop. His entire identity is built on law and order, right and wrong. And now the woman he loves might be a criminal who left a woman to die on the side of the road. How does a marriage survive that? How does he look at her the same way, especially when she can't even give him a straight answer? He probably wants to scream at her, just tell me the truth, Brooklyn! And she's just crying because she literally can't. And Dante is usually so level-headed, but he's acting as commissioner, so he has to drop the hammer. He can't show favoritism. He's putting the pieces together. You were drunk. Jordan crashed avoiding a drunk driver in your vicinity. You have no alibi. You have no memory. It's entirely circumstantial, sure, but it paints a very, very damning picture. Which means everything hinges on the evidence. Because without her memory, Brooklyn is essentially defenseless against the prosecution's narrative. If she goes to trial right now with Dante's theory and her lack of a memory, she could absolutely be convicted. Juries don't like drunk drivers. Juries especially don't like wealthy, privileged people who drink and drive and then run away. The optics are terrible for her. She looks guilty as sin. The only thing that can save her, the only thing, is cold, hard proof in the traffic cameras. They need to pull the footage from the intersection or the highway where Jordan crashed. They need to see the license plate of the car that caused Jordan to swerve if the cops don't find that footage. Or worse, if the cameras were conveniently down, because you know how soap operas work, the cameras are always broken when you actually need them, she is totally screwed. But think about this. What if the camera footage IS found and at IS Brooklyn, like, what if she actually did it? I keep going back and forth in my head. On one hand, I want my girl to be innocent. I want it to be a massive misunderstanding. Maybe somebody else stole her car. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she was drugged and put in the passenger seat. But on the other hand, what a storyline it would be if she actually did, if she has to face the music. It would be such a powerful lesson about the consequences of alcohol. Because let's be real, driving under the influence is no joke. It destroys lives in an instant. It's not just a plot device, it's a very real epidemic. Every single day, people make the utterly stupid decision to get behind the wheel when they are impaired. They think, oh, I'm fine, I live close by, or I drive better when I have a buzz. No, you don't. Alcohol severely delays your reaction time, it distorts your visual perception, and it lowers your inhibitions, so you take risks you normally wouldn't. And the horrific reality is that the drunk driver often walks away without a scratch, while innocent people like Jordan in this scenario end up mangled in a ditch. If GH actually goes down this route and makes Brooke Lynn guilty, it would be a massive educational arc for the viewers. It forces us to look at a character we love and watch them deal with the horrific, irreversible consequences of one incredibly selfish, reckless choice. She wouldn't be able to buy her way out of the guilt. Even if her family hired the best lawyers in New York to get her a plea deal, she would still have to look in the mirror every day knowing she nearly killed someone because she couldn't be bothered to call an Uber. But, my brain. I'm just rambling now. I keep looping back to the arrest. The visual of Chase putting the cuffs on her. You have the right to remain silent. It's so cinematic but so tragic. And I'm really worried about how this affects Jordan too. Is Jordan okay? Is she going to have PTSD from the crash? Will she hold a grudge against Brooke Lynn forever? Anyway, if the police don't find that traffic cam footage, Brooke Lynn might as well pack her bags for Pentonville. Because in the court of public opinion, and in Dante's eyes, she's already guilty. The burden of proof is supposed to be on the state, right? Innocent until proven guilty. But when you wake up from a blackout and the evidence points to you, you basically have to prove your own innocence to yourself before you can even try to convince a jury. Yeah, that's where we're at. I am stressing over fictional characters again, but honestly, this storyline has so many layers. The legal ethics of Chase arresting her, the neurology of memory loss and blackouts, the legal definitions of vehicular assault. It's not just drama, it's a whole legal thriller right now. I just hope somebody finds that camera footage. Whether it clears her or condemns her, she needs to know the truth. She can't live the rest of her life in that blank space wondering if she's a villain. Alright, I need another coffee. Let me know what you'll think in the comments. Do you think she did it, or is somebody setting her up? Because I swear, if this turns out to be some evil twin nonsense or somebody wearing a realistic rubber mask, I am going to lose my mind. But knowing PCPD, they'll probably bungle the investigation anyway. We'll see. Peace out, y'all.